This is the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach and plant-powered athlete on a mission to guide all who are ready to great heights in sports performance and life. Through the 10,000-foot view, I share teachings of living awake with the sole purpose that we all realize our innate power to be the masters of our minds. Hi guys. Okay, so you've probably already listened to the injury episode for this season, and I really wanted to do a follow-up to it because I'm on the other side of it now. So 2.5 weeks ago was when I crawled into the closet to record that episode because I just really wanted to capture it. You know, what better time to talk about injury than when you're in the middle of one? Like, I was so in the middle of it. It was such an acute back injury. It was pretty brutal. And so, you know, what could I do and what I could do in those early days of that injury was I could walk, because it's kind of a non-negotiable. And I was really grateful that I could walk. It was very slow and it was being very mindful, because when you're injured, you can definitely create patterns in the body, you know, to kind of get yourself to where you need to go. And so my walking was really, really slow. And swimming continued to feel really good. And I think I swam between 13 and 14,000 yards that week. And I'm not sure if I said it on this podcast, but I've definitely said it on the Yogi Triathlete podcast. Like, when you are injured and you keep momentum going by looking at what you can do, it is so empowering. Like, to think that I got stronger as a swimmer that week, that I kept momentum going towards the ultra marathon I'm running next month. It's March now. The ultra is in about 4 weeks, something like that. Keeping the momentum going. And of course, keeping the momentum going through the body, yes, but also through the mind. And watching those thoughts that want to catastrophize and resting in that calmness that, if you haven't already created that relationship with the calm that's within you right now, I highly recommend doing it, and doing it through the practice of meditation. And it can be 5 minutes. It can be 5 minutes. You know, a lot of people start with 5 minutes, but what typically happens is 5 minutes is not enough, and they go to 10 minutes, and then they say that's not enough, and they go longer. And so yes, longer is better, but longer with quality is even better, and you gain that over time. So keeping the momentum going was so huge. And it was my actual birthday. You know, I woke up and I had, as I mentioned in that other episode, that, you know, I had all these grand plans of all the things that I was going to do. And I woke up on my birthday, and BJ and I like to pull medicine cards in the morning. And I pulled the card for wisdom and inner knowing, and it's the salmon card. And it was all about how, you know, that things that happen in life, they're not hardships. They're just lessons. There's something there for you to learn. And the salmon card talks about how there's opportunity in all situations, and that wisdom is earned through life's easy and difficult experiences. And so I really that resonated so deeply with me. And in fact, I pulled this card just before or at the beginning of an Awake Athlete monthly meetup with the Awake Athlete crew. And you can check that out on Patreon if you want to be a part of that. It's a super cool community. We come together once a month. We right now we're going through the 4 Agreements book by Don Miguel Ruiz, which is based on Toltec wisdom. All of these things applicable to athletic performance 100%. But the cool thing about humans is that we don't learn selectively. When we learn one thing, we learn it everywhere in our life. And so another cool thing about meditation is like that calmness just, it permeates everything. And so that day in that Awake Athlete meetup, we actually do a meditation on this wisdom and inner knowing. And so that's going to be the next episode of this season. I want to share that with you guys. And really it's a short meditation, and I'm reading the description of the salmon card. And the point is to just be there and let the words wash over you. So it was perfect timing to get that. And I think that there were two things that were brought into the spotlight. One was, letting go. Letting go. Like, let go of the plan, let go of the agenda, let go of the fear that you're never going to run again. Let go of it all, give it all back. Like just let it go. So another level of letting go. And once you start to let go, the challenges get bigger. They don't get smaller. The road gets more narrow. But for me and for a lot of you who are well on this path, there's no other way than to really, 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 really know yourself well so that you can be the master of your mind and you can be on to conditioning and beliefs that no longer serve you or your families or your community. The other thing that I learned was in these challenges is like, if you've ever done a MAF test, right, which is metabolic aerobic function, and you do these tests where you keep your heart rate at, a certain heart rate and you run for 4 miles. That's one of the tests that we do. And it's just a reference point. And so these challenges are also a reference point to see where you are. And what I've learned, I've been doing endurance sports for a long time now, close to 2 decades. And I flow through the challenges of life with so much less resistance than I have in the past. I think we get really bogged down with wanting something to be different, wanting the back pain to go away. Interesting enough, but certainly not a surprise, is the day that I injured myself, we had a session that morning with our meditation teacher. So BJ and I do our sessions together. And he was talking about, when you have a challenge in life. And it's so interesting because 3 hours later, I injured my back at the pool. and he talked about how, we want it to speed up. We want it to be over. And we don't actually want to be like that. We want to be in it. We want to learn because it's teaching us. And also we're letting go. We're letting go of this really, really intense energy that's moving in the body. And it really is true that what we resist persists. So I think that was the second thing, was just where am I now, right? I do all this work every day. I sit in meditation and I connect in with my higher self with the goal to become one with that higher self, to really allow that higher self, that awake athlete self, to run my life. And gosh, I think it's doing a pretty good job at the helm. I think it's pretty much up there, and the ego keeps getting in there too. But it's not about making that go away. It's not about, I don't want this back pain. It's not about, I just want that person in my life to go away. No, it's all here to teach us. It really, really is. This is an earth school. It is an earth school. And every day we go to school. What kind of student are you? Are you just fighting all the lessons? And man, I fought them. Every day I when I go out and run, I am reminded of an ankle injury I had when I was 25 years old. So 25 years ago, a quarter of a century ago, and I fought it and I didn't want it and I was angry and I didn't rehab it correctly. And man, my body is amazing because it lets me run, but sometimes I got to do a little this and little of that to get that thing moving, get that ankle mobile. So I'm constantly reminded of a time where, I did fight and resist. And guess what? Quarter of a century later, that injury still persists. So interesting. So now I'm 2.5 weeks after the injury, and I have been able to fulfill my birthday swim that I wanted to do. And I did that just a week later. I was going to do it on the 3rd of March. My birthday's on the 4th. I did it the following Thursday. And then 2 days later, I did the 5 Peaks Challenge here in San Diego, which is about 4,600 feet of climbing. And you hit all these 5 peaks in this one trail system called Mission Trails. Super cool. And my husband came and 2 of my teammates came, and it was just spectacular. And I have to say, it was like the most ideal day for so many reasons. And my actual birthday, we had a winter storm, like lightning and thunder, and the trails would have been a mess. And it's not just about like, oh, I don't want to go out in the rain, but I live in San Diego for a reason. There's also a degree of when you're going out there and it's pouring rain that you're harming those trails. And I take that into effect too. Like when it gets really, really messy out there, it's actually not that great for the trail system. So, I don't know what we would have done that day. Probably would have had to let it go, but it ended up being perfect. And that's what I keep finding is that as I roll with these challenges as opportunities, that there's things to learn in life's easy days and life's hard days, is that I drop resistance. And as I drop resistance, I feel like I'm able to move through things so much more swiftly and smooth. A lot of good stuff to pull away from, but I just wanted to circle back and let you know that I did get out of the closet that day. It was super dicey, but it's just amazing. Like the day of my birthday, which was a Friday, and then Saturday, like a week later, I went out and crushed these 5 peaks. And, a week prior was literally like trying to figure out how I was going to lower myself down onto the toilet without seizing up. So, wow, the body is amazing. And, it's always organizing towards health. It's always organizing towards health. I mean, how cool is that we have been gifted these bodies that are always organizing towards health, and that on the easy days and the hard days, it's still organizing towards health. So let's give the body a little break in the way that we judge it and view it, and maybe that there's some resistance or some things that could fall away if we begin to look at them. That will actually help us in our process. But everything is for us. It is for us. And I think that there's this idea that nobody's supposed to suffer on this earth. And I wish that was true, but it's not. Like, we need the challenges. We need the suffering. We need the contrast so that our desire can stay strong, so that we can rise above the lower self and truly be the masters of our mind and be the masters of our ego, which is inclusivity, which is using everything to our advantage, the easy days and the hard days. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. I mean that in a way of rising up and living awake and contributing what we want to see in the world, contributing that just by the way that we live, and being the person that holds and shares the qualities that we dream to see more of in this world. Like, what a beautiful, beautiful thing that we can do on account of our free will. Okay, reach out anytime. I have been around the block a few times with injury, and I feel like I've navigated really, really well now. And I think that I've navigated it really, really poorly in the past, immaturely in the past, and perhaps with wisdom now. And so, this is, although it seems like a one-way conversation, it doesn't have to be. So you can always reach out through my Instagram page or a comment somewhere, or through yogitriathlete.com. But we're here to take care of each other. We really are. And but we can only care for others as much as we care for ourselves, right? We can't give more to somebody else than we're already giving to ourselves. It doesn't compute. There would be no reference point to give more. We only have the level of care that we give to ourselves, and then we can offer that to others. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't make sense. If it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, leave it. All right. We'll talk soon. Peace out.